Hello guys, welcome back to this video. Today's video guys, we are going to be having a look at questions on coordinate geometry. I'm going to be sort of starting off a series where we're going to do several questions on the several different topics. So here we're going to start off with coordinate geometry. We're going to go according to the syllabus. The syllabus says coordinate geometry first. I'm going to go over coordinate geometry then, and then hopefully we can upload as many videos as I can and just give you practice on these questions. Okay, so let's begin. It's telling us the first question. So this is question 1, and question 1 is telling us the diagram shows points A, B, and C. So we have points A, points B, points C, and they all are lying on a certain line, and this line it has an equation of 2y is equals to x plus 4. So that will be important later. The point A lies on the y-axis. If it lies on the y-axis, what does that mean? That the y-intercept lies on A. So if I find the y-intercept of this equation, it will be 2, right? So the coordinates of A I already know is going to be 0, 2. Okay, so we already know the coordinates of A, so this is just stuff I'm getting from the question. As more information I get from the question, I write all the information I get. So you can just make up a plan of what you're going to do next, and what information you have, what information you have to find out, and how you're going to get to that information. That's how you do these questions. Now, AB equals to BC, so this segment is equals to BC. What does that mean? That means B right here is the midpoint. And that brings me to something called the perpendicular bisector. Right? The bisector. So what that means is that when a line is exactly and the half of that other line, this is a perpendicular bisector. And you can see later on the question, it's telling us the line from D10 -3 is perpendicular to AC. Perpendicular, you can clearly see that this line is perpendicular. It's telling us to calculate the coordinates of B and C. So what do we have to find? We have to find the coordinates of B, and we have to find the coordinates of C. Now that we have read the question, let's actually try to solve this question. Okay, first things first, I need to find the equation. Of this line right here, the B to D. Okay, and how will I find that? I can find the gradient because it's perpendicular. So let's try to find the gradient. We actually already know the gradient. The gradient, okay, we have the line 2y equals to x plus 4. If it's perpendicular, the gradient is inverse. Okay, so here the gradient is half x, right? The gradient is half. Sorry. The gradient is half. So the inverse of that will be -2 to give us -1. This is the equation for perpendicular lines. When you have the gradient of these two lines, they must always multiply to -1. So now I've found out the gradient of this line. I found the gradient of this line here. The gradient of this line is actually -2. If I have the gradient, which is -2, and I have the coordinates, which is 10, -3, I have the coordinates 10, -3, I can find the equation of this line. So let's find the equation of the line using this y minus y1 equals to the gradient x minus x1. You need to remember this equation. We now plug in the values y, so this will become y plus 3. The gradient is -2, x minus 10. So this will be y plus 3 is equals to -2x plus 20. So that gives me y equals to -2x plus 17. Now, I have two equations and they intersect at point B. If I know if they intersect at point B, that means if I, find the intersection point, when I equate the two equations together, I will find B. Right? So that's how we can do that. So let's equate these two together and find the points B. Okay, so the two equations are y equals to -2x plus 17, and the other one is y is equals to half x plus 2. I'm going to equate these two together. So if I equate these two together, I will get half x plus 2 equals to -2x plus 17. Okay, and then I'm going to take half the other side. So I'm going to take 2 the other side. So half plus 2 becomes 5/2x equals to 15. Now 15 divided by 5 over 2 will give me x. So therefore x is equals to 6. If x is equals to 6, what is y? If I plug in the values, half, I'm going to plug in the values. Y equals to half times 6 plus 2 times 6 plus 2, that gives me 5. So y is 5. So my coordinates for b is 6, 5. I've got the coordinates of b. I need to now find the coordinates of c. So now how will I find the coordinates of c? So if I go back to this diagram, I'm actually going to rub all of this, and this one was actually 2y is equals to x plus 4, right? Now I have this point b here. The point b is 6, 5. After I have point b, when we know this is the exact midpoint, I can use the formula for midpoint, right? I can use the formula for midpoint. So the midpoint formula, what is the midpoint formula? To find the midpoint of any value, I will do x1 plus x2 divide by 2, and then y1 plus y2 divide by 2. Now I know the midpoint, which is 6, 5, and I know this point, which is 2, which is 0. It's 0 plus x2 divided by 2, and then it's 2 plus y2 divided by 2. So I need to form 6 and 5. So therefore my x2 will be what? It will be 12. So it will be 12. My y2 will be, so if I want 5 plus 8, isn't it? So 12 and 8. So this is my coordinates for. So now I found both the coordinates. B was 6, 5, and C was 12, 8. Okay, let's move on to the next question now. Okay guys, so this is the next question. This is question 2. The diagram shows a rectangle A, B, C, D. The point A, 0, negative 2, and C, 12, 14. So we've got 2 points, that is A, 0, negative 2, 12, 14. What we have to find is, so we got point A, we got point C. The diagonal BD is parallel to the x-axis. Okay, so this is so we have another line here. This line is called BD, and it's parallel to the x-axis. So you need to also have a look at that. It's telling us explain why the y-coordinate of D is 6. Now, the reason to this is that if I draw a diagonal from here, just like that, right? If I draw a diagonal, this is not the best diagonal, but let me see. So if I draw a diagonal like that, this point right here is actually the midpoint of 12 and 0, which is 6. So therefore, right, therefore, where the two lines, the midpoint, so the midpoint of AC is the y coordinate. Okay, therefore, because the midpoint of this will give us the y coordinate, the y axis. Therefore, it will be like that. Okay, let's go to the next question. Let's go to II. Now let's read II. II says the x coordinate of D is h. So for h we have h6, right? So we have 6 because of this, because it's parallel. So h6, we have the coordinates of D. We don't have the coordinates of B. It's telling us to express the gradient of AD and CD in terms of h. So let's do the gradient of AD first. So the gradient of AD is going to be, so we have the coordinates 0, negative 2. Okay, and the other coordinate is going to be 0, negative 2, h6. So now we know the gradient function, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So x1, y1, y2. So 6 minus 2 over h. So that will be 8 over h. So the gradient for AD, is going to be 8 over h. Now let's find the gradient gradient of the next one, which is DC. So let's find the gradient of DC now. What are the two coordinates of DC? Which is 12, 14. So 12, 14 and h and 6. So I'm just going to skip a few steps and I'm going to just get the answer. So 14 minus 6 over 12 minus h. So this will give us 8 over 12 minus h. So this is the gradient in terms of h, right? So that gives us 3 marks right there. The next question now is telling us to calculate the x coordinates of D and B. To calculate the x coordinates of D and B. So now we do know that when two lines are actually perpendicular, so you can see that this line right here is perpendicular with this line, right? So when they're perpendicular, the gradients will always, when you multiply them together, they will become -1. When you multiply the gradient of 1, so if you multiply g1 with g2, you will get -1. You need to remember this rule. For perpendicular lines, the gradient, okay, the gradient of this curve and the gradient of this curve, when you multiply them, they have to be -1. So using that same principle, if I do 8 over h, multiply this by 8 over 12 minus h, okay, what's this going to give us? 64 over h, 12 minus h. It'll give us 64 over h, 12 minus h, right? And this is all equals to -1. So now I'm going to cross multiply, equals to -1 h, 12 minus h. So 64 is equals to -12 h plus h squared. Okay, so once you have this information, then it becomes just rearranging, it becomes a quadratic, then you use your calculator. So I'm just going to rearrange this. So h squared minus 12h minus 64 is equals to 0. Now I'm going to put this in my calc. So you get 1 minus 12 minus 64. So you get h is equals to 16 or h is equals to -4. So these are my two values of h. The question asked me to find the x coordinates, and remember x coordinate, this is my h. So these are my x coordinates of h, right? So that right there was my x coordinates for h. Let's move on to I4. Okay, remember this was for I. Yeah, now let's move on to I4, I3. Now, okay, let's go to this question. It's telling us to calculate the area of the rectangle ABCD. Okay, so let's now, so how do you find the area of this rectangle? So if it's an area of a rectangle, we simply know that it is always length times the width. So I need to find the length of this, find the length of this, and I multiply them together. So h will be 16, right? Because it's positive on this side. So this one will be at -4. But we don't need this coordinate if we want -4, 6. But we don't need this coordinate, right? So we need this coordinate. So I need to find the length of AD. So let's try to do that now. So I'm going to find the length of AD. Okay, how do you find the length of AD? What are your coordinates for A? The coordinates for A, if I go back up, the coordinates for A are 0, -2. So 0, -2. The coordinates for D is 16, 6. So I need to find the length of this. So how do you find the length? So use the root, right? Use the root and then x2, which is 16, minus 0 squared plus 6. Let me show you my full working. Minus 2 squared. So if I root this whole thing, you can do this straight in your calculator if you want, but it's simply just like that. So I'm going to use my calc now. Root 16 squared plus 8 squared. So that will be 8 root 5. So the length of this side right here is 8 root 5. Now I need to find the length of this side here, right? The length of that. Okay, so what is the length of CD now? Okay, so I need to find the length of CD. Let me write it alongside. So length of CD. What's the length of CD? So C, the coordinates of C, let's just check that again. The coordinates of C was what? 12, 14. Okay, 12, 14. That's the coordinates for C. The coordinates for D was 16, 6. We need to find the length. So use the same thing. So x2, 16 minus 12 squared plus 6 minus 14 squared. Let's use my calc for this. 16 minus 12 squared plus 6 minus 14 squared. That shall be 4.5. Now, length times width. So area, okay, area is equals to always the length times the width. Okay, so therefore the area will be the length is 8 root 5, the width is 4 root 5. I multiply these together using my calc. I will get an answer of an area of 160. So that is the end of this question. The area is 160. That gives you 3 marks. Let's move on to the next question. Okay, this is the next question. Let's attempt this question now. So this will be our question 3. Okay, let's begin. So what does the question say? It says point A has the coordinate. This always, for these questions, you need to know which coordinates you have. So you have the A coordinate and you have the equation of the perpendicular bisector. I explained what perpendicular bisector is. It's basically when you have a line here and then you have a line like this. This forms a 90, these two lines. This is basically a perpendicular, and then of course this is through the midpoint. Okay, so that's what you need to sort of know. Okay, now it's telling us that the line AB has this, okay, it has this equation, right? So line AB has the equation 2y is equals to 3x plus 5. Okay, this is, so if I draw it, right, if we have a point A, we have a point B, there's a straight line between these points, right? This is simply the setup. It's telling us to find the equation of AB. The equation of AB. So what we have is we have the perpendicular bisector, which means we have this code. We have the equation of this. Okay, we don't have the equation of AB. We have the equation of the perpendicular bisector. Right? We have the equation of the perpendicular bisector. So how do I find it? So first of all, I need to find, okay, so for A is negative 2, 6. So the first things first, right, I need to find the point where it is the, the gradient of this curve. Okay, I need to find the gradient of this curve because the gradient will be the inverse. So I need to find the gradient. The gradient will be 3 over 2, right? 3 over 2x plus 5 over 2. So the gradient here is just simply 3 over 2. So the gradient of this line, so the gradient is 3 over 2. So the gradient for AB will be what? The gradient for AB will be 3 over 2 times negative 2 over 3, which is negative 1. Okay, I'm going to confirm that with my calc. 3 over 2 times negative 2 over 3, that's negative 1. So the gradient for AB is negative 2 over 3. Okay, always this I'm just using principles of perpendicular lines and I got my answer. So now I have the gradient, which is negative 2 over 3. I have the coordinates, which is negative 2, 6. And I can find the equation of AB now. So the equation of AB using the formula I used above, y minus 6 equals to negative 2 over 3, x minus 2, close the brackets, y minus 6 equals to minus 2 over 3x minus 2 over 3 times 2, which is minus 4 over 3. Minus 4 over 3 plus 6 is 14 over 3. So y is equal to negative 2 over 3x plus 14 over 3. So this is the equation of AB. Now let's see what they want us to get next. It's telling us to find the coordinates of B. Okay, so we have the two equations. Y is equals to negative 2 over 3x plus 14 over 3, and the other equation was y is equals to 3 over 2x plus 5 over 2, right? Now, same setup as I showed above here, the same setup that I showed. Oh, it's really laggy, very laggy because I'm writing on top of the just give me a second. It has lagged up. Okay, there you go. Okay, so the same setup. If we have line A and then we have B, perpendicular bisector. So we have the equation of the two. If we find the intersection point will be the midpoint for any perpendicular bisector. So after I find the intersection, that will be the midpoint. So I need to find the intersection of these two. So let me equate the two together. So 3. So 3 over 2x plus 5 over 2 is equals to 3 over 2x plus 5 over 2 is equals to negative 2 over 3x plus 14 over 3. 3 over 2x plus 5 over 2 equals to negative 2. Okay, so now I take the 2 over 3 the other side, we take it this side, we take this the other side. So 3 over 2 plus 2 over 3, that's going to give us 13 over 6x is equals to 13 over 3 minus 5 over 2, which is also equal to 13 over 6. So x is equals to 1. Okay, if x is equals to 1, what is y? Y is going to equals to, I'll just plug it in, is equals to 4. Now I have the coordinates of A. Coordinates of A. What was the coordinates of A? 2, 6. So A was negative 2, 6. And then we have the midpoint, which is 1, 4. So using the midpoint function, we can find it, right? So 1, 4 is equals to negative 2 plus x divided by 2, 6 plus y, 6 plus y divided by 2. So if I want to find 1, it's negative 2 plus 4, I think, right? 4 divided by, yeah. So x will be 4 here, and then here it will be 6 plus 2, so 4, 2. So this is my coordinate for B. So the coordinate for B will be 4, 2, okay, using the midpoint function. So that is this question. Let's move on to the next question. Okay, this is the next question. Let's attempt this question. So C is a midpoint, right? We'll just zoom into this. C is a midpoint of a line joining A, right? A, which is 14, negative 7, and B, which is negative 6, 3. Okay, so C is a midpoint of these two. So we have A and then we have B, and between these two lines is the midpoint C. The line through C perpendicular to AB crosses the y-axis at D. So the line through C, right, there's a line through C which is a perpendicular to AB, is crossing the y-axis at D. This equation here is crossing the y-axis at D. Okay, we're being told that I need to find the equation of CD. Give your answer in the form y equals to mx plus c. Okay, so first of all, straightforward, I need to find the midpoint of C. Once I find the midpoint of C, I can find the gradient of AB. Once I find the gradient of AB, I have an equation of this line CD. Okay, so using that, we can actually do it. So I'm going to rub this part. Okay, so let's find the gradient of AB. The gradient of AB, remember, is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So this one will be x1, y1, x2, y2. So this will be 3 minus 7 over minus 6 minus 14. What will this give us? So 3 minus 7 minus 6 minus 14. So this gives me a gradient of negative half. So the gradient of CD will therefore be negative half times 2 to give us negative 1, right? Is that right? Yeah. So the gradient is going to be 2. The gradient is going to be 2. Now I have the gradient and I don't have C yet, so I need to find the midpoint. So midpoint now, midpoint is equals to, the midpoint is equals to 14 plus negative 6 divided by 2, negative 7 plus 3 divided by 2. Okay, this is going to give us something, right? So this will give us 14 negative 6 divided by 2. That gives me 4. And then there is negative 7 plus 3 divided by 3. That's going to give me negative 4 over 3. So these are the coordinates for C. Okay. Those are the coordinates of C. Good. Now I have everything I need. I have the coordinates, which is this, and I have the gradient, which is this. Okay, so I can now use my trusty equation. Okay, that is my trusty equation, such that y plus 4 over 3 is equals to 2x minus 8. And then I take it the other side, minus 8 minus 4 over 3. Actually, what is the, I think I've messed up in the midpoint. (14 plus minus 6). That seems okay. And then minus 7 plus minus 6 is minus 13 divided by 2. Okay, I do not know why I did divide by 3 there. Strange why I did divide by 3 there. Okay, so this will be equals to negative 6.5. Okay, so I have to sort of do this a bit again, because I got a funny answer, it just cannot be that. Okay, so y plus 6.5 equals to 2x minus 4. Y is equals to 2x minus 8 minus 6.5. Okay, so that will be minus 8 minus 6.5. What am I doing? Plus 8. 6.5. It gives me 3 over 2. Sorry, again, this is actually minus 2. Very sorry, very sorry. I do not know what's happening. So minus 7 plus 3 is minus 4, so divide by 2 is minus 2. Okay, minus 2. Minus 2. So therefore that gives me y is equals to 2x plus 10. So this is my equation of the line y equals 10x plus c. And this is the equation, right? So that is for line CD. Now it's telling me to find the distance AD. Okay, let's try to find that. Now, how can we find the coordinates of D? We can find the coordinates of D because they've told us it crosses the y-axis at D. So if it crosses the y-axis, that means x is 0. So y is equals to 2, 0 plus 10. So y is equals to 10. So the coordinates for D will be 0, 10. 0, 10. Now, so for II, D is 0, 10, and A is what? A is 14, negative 7. 14, negative 7. Now we can easily find the length, which is root x2, 14 minus 0 squared, plus minus 7 minus 10 squared. Use my calculator now. Okay, so this up here will be negative 10. Because it's negative 8, then you take it the other side, it will become negative 10. Okay, so that means the d coordinate is 0, negative 10. Okay, so now if I put this in my calculator, I'm getting an answer of root 205. So that's the length of AHD. I'm hoping you guys understood. Sorry about a bit of a mess up here. So I just want to explain that again. So you put the coordinates in here, you find the midpoint using the function. That was straightforward. You get your answer here. Now we have the coordinates 4, negative 2 and the gradient of 2. Use the equation, and after you find the equation, you will find that 2 times negative 4, actually we can open it up so that you guys can understand. So y plus 2 equals to 2x minus 8. Now if I take to the other side, it becomes y equals to minus 2x minus 10. Okay, so it becomes like this. So then what I did for here, because it told us d passes through the y-intercept, x is 0 at that time, so I plug in 0, I get negative 10. So my length is root 205. So the final answer is root 205. Let's move on to the next question now. Okay guys, this is the final question that we're going to do, and let's have a look at it. So it tells us to find the coordinates of the point at which the perpendicular bisector of the line joining 2, 7, 10, 3 meets the x-axis. So let's say we have this line here, which is 2, 7 and 10, 3, and then we have of course a perpendicular bisector. This perpendicular bisector is what we have to look for, the equation of it first of all. So what I need for this is, first of all, I need the midpoint and I'll need the gradient. That's what we do for most of the questions. So let's find out the gradient first. The gradient will be 10, let's start off with the y. So 7 minus 3 over 2 minus 10. That will be the gradient. So 7 minus 3, 2 minus 10. That will be negative half. So the gradient of the perpendicular bisector will be 2. So for perpendicular bisector. Now, I need to find the midpoint. So if I want to find the midpoint, I will do 2 plus 10 divided by 2, 7 plus 3 divided by 2. That will be 6 and 5. Now I have the coordinates for the midpoint and the gradient. I'll use my equation. Y minus 5 is equals to 2x minus 6. So y minus 5 equals to 2x minus 12. Y is equals to 2x. So minus 12 plus 5 will be minus 7. So this is the equation of the perpendicular bisector. So y is equals to 2x minus 7. It's telling us we have to find the coordinates at which it meets the x-axis. When it meets the x-axis, what happens? When it meets the x-axis, the y is equals to 0. So using that principle, 0 equals to 2x minus 7. 7 divided by 2 is equals to 3.5. So x is equals to 3.5. So the coordinates is equals to 3.50. And that will be the final answer for this question. A quick question. After that, it's quite repetitive. In some questions you involve some thinking, but apart from that, it's pretty straightforward. So I'm hoping this video has helped you. I'll try to upload for the other different topics. And with that being said, that marks the end of this video. See you guys in the next video.